It's been about a month since Nintendo showed us their new flagship title for Wii U and their prime launch title for NX. While before E3 we basically knew nothing about this game, we still barely know anything. And while you could watch the hours upon hours of treehouse footage, that's a lot to take in one sitting, and there are a lot of details that are really easy to miss. So we decided to put together this list of everything we know so far on Breath of the Wild. All the footage in this video will be from various other sources, as we weren't around back then and we obviously didn't have any footage of our own. And for those wondering, there are very minimal story details available, and none of it is really all that groundbreaking anyways. But just for those people who don't want to be spoiled, we will be saving all story details for the end of the video, so watch for that spoiler warning. Alright, enough blabbering. Let's get started. The game's first line, "Open your eyes," is voice acted. According to Eiji Aonuma, voice acting is reserved for moments to leave impressions on players, likely only being cutscenes. Link will not be voice acted outside of his usual grunts. There are now different clothing items for Link to wear. Currently, there are shirts and pants. It is also possible to change your hairstyle, although it was never explained how or why. If Link opens a chest from the side when he's not wearing any pants or shoes, he'll stub his little toe. The stamina meter makes its return from Skyward Sword, except this time with better balancing. Running also makes its return from Skyward Sword, except this time I feel like it runs out a lot faster. The opening moment where Link walks out of the cave is supposed to be a reference to the original manual artwork from the Legend of Zelda game for the NES. This game is full of other references to the 1986 classic, such as its vastness and how it opens with your direction as the mercy of what happens next. You can now collect various resources from the wild, such as mushrooms and apples. According to the treehouse, bombable walls make a return, but some of them will be just as hidden as certain bombable walls in the original game. Bomb fishing, anyone? The first time you collect any item, it will display an on-screen tooltip about it. After that, it'll never pop up again, so that's great. You can also collect bugs, enemy drops, ores, animal meat, and even different tiers of weapons. Weapons can now break if used too much or on the wrong thing. There are now different types of weapons outside the typical sword and bow. As of this video, the different confirmed weapon types are swords, spears, axes, sledgehammers, clubs, pitchforks, the fire rod, and a bow complete with regular tipped arrows, fire and ice arrows, bomb arrows, and also the mysterious glowing light arrow revealed in the first trailer and also in this gameplay segment. There are also various items like torches, sticks, leaves, and skeletal bokoblins arms that aren't really weapons but can be used offensively anyways. One of the first things you'll get in the game is the Sheikah Slate. It has the ability to use runes, view the map, and scope things from a distance. Early on, you will unlock different runes. These appear to replace the typical dungeon item, however, we do not yet know if this is the case or if this is just because it's all early game. The different runes we know about are bombs, which includes both a round bomb that rolls around and a cube bomb which is relatively stationary, Cryonis, Stasis, Magnesis, and the Amiibo, which is unlocked from the get-go. Bomb runes work just as you'd expect them to, except instead of having a bomb bag, there's instead a cooldown. This applies for all the other runes as well. Bombs also explode on command now. Cryonis is used to create an ice pillar from any source of water. The ice pillar can be used to stand on, block incoming objects, or even lift things up. Stasis causes the target to stop in its tracks as if time was frozen for it. When certain objects are stopped, you can wail on them to build a ton of kinetic force. And when it wears off, the object will then fly off in the direction you were hitting it. Magnesis can be used to pull metal objects to and from you. There is also one rune that was never shown off at E3. We don't even have any speculations as to what it could be, as the crazy ideas the other runes are can make it be anything. Runes are found in the 4 short mini-dungeons around the Great Plateau, known as shrines. Shrines are located all over the world, and according to a leak said before E3, there are about 105 of them in total across the world. For completing a shrine, you will receive a Spirit Orb. Spirit Orbs can be traded for various items. In the case of the first 4 Spirit Orbs, it can be traded for the Paraglider. The Paraglider allows you to soar for a great distance from any height. Anuma-san did confirm that dungeons that we all know and love will be making a return, so calm down all you people in a worry-hurry about it. When looking through the scope or on the map, you can place pins which show up on your minimap. Over the top of the minimap, you'll find the time. Every second is equivalent to 1 minute in Breath of the Wild. This is the entire world. Approximately 9 times the size of Skyrim, if we're judging by travel time on foot, I guess. When viewing the map, you can place stamps marking places you may want to check later. The Amiibo rune works just by holding the button and then scanning your Amiibo. The Wolflink Amiibo summons the legendary hero of Twilight to fight by your side while he is trapped inside his wolf body. How or even if this fits canonically, we have no idea. There are also 3 brand new Breath of the Wild Amiibo coming to the game, none of which functions have been explained. Said mentioned Amiibo are the Link Rider, Link Archer, and the Guardian. The Guardians are a powerful enemy that we've seen ever since the first trailer way back in E3 2014. Anuma-san said in an interview that when playing the original Legend of Zelda, the Octoroks seem massive to him. This is the fact why the Guardians have an almost squid-like appearance with their 8 legs. As a matter of fact, at first the Guardians were going to be Octoroks, but the development team found it a bit disturbing to be chased by a giant squid on land, so the team came up with their current design for the Guardians. This decision is also what inspired the whole theme of technology instead of using magic and auras. Guardians as we know them now come in 3 different forms, the first of which being found right outside the Bomb Rune Shrine. There are a lot of decayed Guardians all over the area, and some of them that are planted in the ground will spring to life and attack if they spot you. They function like BMOs from past games, except this time you have a bit more time to react, but you still have to be careful. If you sprint as soon as one spots you, you're gonna run out of stamina and get blasted! Keep in mind, these guys do 6.5 hearts of damage for 1 shot. If one targets you, don't panic. Here's what you gotta do. Listen for when the beeping becomes lower pitched and a bit more rapid. After that, you will have an entire stamina gauge worth of running to take shelter. The second form that we see of the Guardians are the ones inside the shrines. They appear smaller and relatively easier to beat, but these little guys still pack a punch. Finally, there's the big bad walking Guardians that are roaming the fields. These guys can, for the most part, only be evaded on horseback, so be extra cautious when exploring. Bokoblins are your most basic of enemies, first appearing in the Wind Waker as these dudes, then becoming these guys in Twilight Princess, and these fellas in Skyward Sword, and finally becoming the common enemy of the Great Plateau and possibly the rest of Hyrule here. Bokoblins come in red, blue, and skeletal variants, with blue being the hardest. There are also these big guys that look a bit like Bokoblins, however they're more likely their older ancestor, the Moblin. And while I'm on the topic of things in the trailer, but not the demo, there is this guy on that cliff. What is up with that? Who are you? What do you want? Why? Choo-Choos also make their return, dropping their infamous Chew Jelly, which will likely again be key ingredients in many potions. The Chews also have an ice variant in the cold heights of Mount Hylia. During the day, you may stumble upon wandering Bokoblins. Bokoblins also have camps scattered all around the plateau, and probably the rest of Hyrule. Enemies who you come into contact with will display a health bar above their head, and if you scope an enemy from a distance, you'll see their exact numbers as well. If you defeat all the Bokoblins at a camp, the bone chest will unlock containing some nice spoils. Boss fights are no longer confined to boss rooms. And no, I'm not talking about imprisoned fights either. At nighttime, most of the Bokoblins will be asleep. This is the best moment to attack a camp and take the least amount of damage. If you sneak behind an enemy without it noticing you, you can perform a sneak strike. To do so, pay attention to your sound meter. When you run around or even slowly walk, you may generate a lot of noise. So instead, you can use the sneaking button. A perfectly timed block or jumping from a ledge with your bow equipped will result in a flurry rush where time slows down and it gives you chances to wail on your enemies. Also at nighttime, keys can be found all around the plateau, and their tedious as all hell ice variant can be found on Mount Hylia, which likely means we can expect to see a fire variant at Death Mountain. And speaking of Segway Town, death is very imminent in the new land of Hyrule. Heights that may not have killed you in previous games will be your new worst enemy. Even more so than the Guardians. Because now you can climb trees, cliffs, and even some buildings. And it won't even last forever because the stupid Anyways, we also now have a dedicated jump button. Falling into water in cold regions rapidly depletes your health. To think of it like ice lava. When Link is sailing with the paraglider, it uses a little bit of stamina. Lighting the world on fire isn't all bad. Fire actually creates an updraft for the paraglider. Swimming also uses a slight bit of stamina, a la Wind Waker. When climbing cliffs, look for places that stick out as solid ground for you to regain your stamina on. One of my favorite additions to Breath of the Wild is shield surfing. Shield surfing wears down your shield's durability, so it may not be best to waste it all. You will now have to prepare before entering certain climates, as there is now a temperature gauge. Recipes can result in various effects, like a second stamina gauge, ability to venture into the cold places, and even giving you additional hearts. You will no longer collect hearts found in vases or grass. Instead, you replenish health by eating. You can take just about any resource you collect and cook it. A failed cooked food item will result in this mess. It's too gross to look at, apparently. If you cook a food item by itself, it will increase the potency of it. Most of the time. Some enemies and animals will draw aggro or run away depending on how loud you're being. You can reduce this by running less or even sneaking. Headshots do 2 times the damage than landing a shot anywhere else when shooting a bow. Your arrow count is displayed on your crosshair when shooting your bow. You can now pick up arrows shot by enemies or any missed shots of yours. You can now throw any weapon to do more damage than swinging it, however this is likely going to be at the cost of extra durability. When examining a new type of weapon, you can see the durability and the damage it's capable of. You can use a woodcutter's axe to cut down trees. Tree logs can be used as bridges or as a way to collect firewood. If you take flint and firewood and strike it with your sword, you'll start a campfire. You can interact with any lit campfire to change the time of day. Although not directly seen in the demo, rupees do make a return. One of the best ways to collect them is to sell resources. Breath of the Wild has a very in-depth physics engine. According to Nintendo, there are many secrets out there with it that we don't yet know about, but were possible to access in the E3 demo. Also, keep in mind a lot of puzzles have multiple ways to solve them, that being one of the reasons why. Other puzzles, however, might just have only one solution.
Warning, from here on out, anything said in this video may be classified as a spoiler, so get out of here if you don't like that stuff. Yay!
Our story begins as Link wakes up in the Shrine of Resurrection. According to a scene a bit later, we learn that Link was sleeping for 100 years. The clothes Link finds in the chest appear to be a little too small for him, possibly hinting that this is what fit him before his century-lasting nap. As a potential other reference to the first Zelda, Link starts in a cave and walks outside to meet the man, sort of a reverse of the original. A lot of fans speculate that the old man could possibly be King Daphne's from Wind Waker. It's neither here nor there, but it's just the theory. No. If you head westward down the cliff from the starting point, you'll eventually find a small cove. This is where the fire rod is located. If you take the baked apple from the old man, he will jokingly scold you and proceed to tell you some lore about how Hyrule is in a decaying state. After about a minute or so of running around, the mysterious voice urges you to go to a specific point on the map. You are in no way forced to go there, however, before entering the shrines you must do so. Before making your way there, however, stop by the Temple of Time. There you'll find some new articles of clothing and weapons. As some sort of side quest, cook rocks can be found all over the world. You'll have to do arbitrary exploring such as diving into a ring of lily pads or climbing to the very top of the Temple of Time to meet one, however. When you reach the point on the map, you'll find a small altar to place your Sheikah Slate. After doing that, you will raise below you the Tower of Resurrection. Upon doing so, you also raise all the towers across the world. Scaling any of the towers will reward you with fast travel to that tower and also the map of that region to be filled in. It is here that we learn that Link has the classic amnesia trope, and that the old man is for some reason disappointed when Link doesn't remember who the voice is. We also learn that the magic that's surrounding what's presumably Hyrule Castle is known as Calamity Ganon himself, and it has almost fully awakened. It is then tasked to Link to visit the 4 shrines around the plateau in order to take the spirit orbs for the Paraglider. Whenever you get the Paraglider, that is when the rest of the world opens up, and it is your decision as to where you go next. And that'll just about do it for all 100 plus facts on Breath of the Wild. Holy smokes! It's a lot of information to take in at once, and I have no idea if this video was good or if it was bad. And you know what you can do to let me know about that? Is you can go to that comment section. Yeah! You can write me a nice comment, or you can write me a mean one. Whatever you like to do. Personally, I would prefer it if you didn't write a mean one, but, I mean, who's gonna stop you? This guy? No. And as always, remember to keep it right here to the gaming outlet so you can stay plugged in to everything gaming. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen. Fishing, anyone? A rattata. I caught a rattata, guys.